Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to our Sunday.
So I do have a selection from Emmett Fox, and it's from a book called Find and Use Your Inner Power. And the title of the selection is Make It Your Subconscious. Before an idea can work in our lives, it must be accepted by the subconscious mind. When the idea is accepted by the subconscious, it must work in our lives. It must work in our lives. Knowledge that is only in the conscious or the foreconscious mind can have no practical effect. It is when it is accepted in the deeper layers that it becomes dynamic. Physicians know consciously what perfect anatomy and hygiene should be, but they are not healthier than any other class because this knowledge is not in the deeper layers of their minds. If it were, they would demonstrate perfect health. We students of metaphysics know that God is love and intelligence, and we believe it. But it is not until that idea is accepted in the deeper levels of our subconscious that we shall have perfect peace of mind and the all-around harmony that comes with it. From the scientific point of view, then, our problem is to get the ideas we wish to demonstrate accepted by the subconscious. Then the rest will follow. So
Thank you, Bob.
that's very true.
Yes, it is. And it kind of goes with what Lori Kay is going to be talking about, isn't it, Lori? Okay, and I'm a little rusty doing this, but I think that's when we do start into our talk. So, Lori, if you want to unmute yourself and take it away.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great segue. I actually disagree with one part of it, which is this idea that there's this subconscious that is so deep that we just can't reach it. I'm just kind of not feeling that is a great way to go. I think it sets us up for seeing things in a way that means we can't access ourselves. And so I want to talk about law of attraction because this summer, I discovered that there are two things that rule all of our lives. I finally found, after all of these years of investigation, that the two things that really do rule our lives. It's not what you believe in, like it's not which spiritual path or which religion. You can do any of them. It doesn't really matter. But it is emotion and it is energy. We know in physics that energy doesn't die, it just transforms. We know this and we accept this. We say, okay, great, got it, that's wonderful. What we don't have is kind of what Bob was talking about. How do we make it work in our lives? How do we make the things that we believe really applicable? So did any of you see the movie The Secret back in the day? No? Some did, some didn't. Yeah. I don't know if you all remember, but in that movie, there was this little boy, and he wanted a red bike. And so for days, he went around going, I have a red bike, I have a red bike, I have a red bike. And he cut out a picture of a red bike. And that became, and this is what, 25 years ago now, The Secret came out, shockingly. But that really sort of launched us into this idea that all we have to do is sort of repeat our desire and it will come. We saw that as law of attraction, and that's really not what it is. In fact, that is a real dumbing down, and it doesn't allow us to really grab it with our minds and then make an application of it where we can go from believing in a thing to knowing a thing because of experiencing it. Believing is like standing outside of the candy store and looking in at all of the different candies that we like. So we might see something like a sign in there that says abundance is your birthright. And we go, yeah, I believe that. That's right. And we see another one, it says you're an extension of source. And we see another one and it says you are the power that you seek. We see another one that says everything that you need is right here. These are things that we see and we go, yes, because they're truths. And we resonate with them. But we're still outside of the candy store, aren't we? You know, we can say, I believe that abundance is who I am. It's my birthright. It's what I'm made of because I'm made of the source. But where's the money? Where's the new job? Where's the new house? Where's the this? Where's the right? Whatever it is you're looking for in terms of abundance. Where's the health? Where's the beef? You know, where's all the stuff that we want? How do we bring those two things together? How do we get inside the candy shop? Let me tell you what law of attraction really is. And I can tell you this because now I've actually experienced this and some amazing, crazy things are happening. So law of attraction is actually a skill that can be learned. It's a law. It's the way the world actually operates. We live in an energy-based world. It's just a fact. It's the way that it works. In order to use law of attraction, there are skills that can be learned. And law of attraction is about giving yourself the gift of learning how to authentically adjust your own emotional set point so that you deliberately and consciously create the energy of you that allows your good to come in. Now imagine that for a second. Let's say I feel really frustrated. I have a boss. I can't stand this boss. They make me crazy. I don't want to be working with her or him. And then things just get worse and worse. And all I can do is think about how am I going to get out of this job? How do I look for another one while I'm busy at this one? We get very involved in the problem solving. Law of attraction says you can find a way to focus on what is a higher energy, and it will attract higher opportunities, higher situations, and a different relationship to your situations, to those things that trouble you. We are not used to thinking in this way because we've been taught to believe a lot in our physicality, to believe in the world that we see as being reality and the only reality. We've been living this for a very long time. It's not that we're crazy or stupid or whatever. It's just the way we're raised. It's the way we see things. But if we understood that actually our physical energy is far less impactful than the energetic, then we're playing a different game. But how do we do that? And why can I say what I'm saying? Well, think about this for a second. Have you ever had an incredible situation in your life? You've fallen in love. You were offered the best job of your life. You came through a terrible illness and you felt you had a new lease on life. You know, something that made you feel a sort of high sense of emotion of, oh, I can breathe. I can breathe. This is fantastic. I love it. And when you have those moments, you might notice that the other things that are happening around you, you're getting some more good stuff. The opposite of that is if you live in months and months and months or years and years of depression, which I used to, it's very, very difficult, even with all of the physical effort, it's very difficult to call in good stuff. It's just really difficult. We're very focused on the pain. And so it's natural. We're going to focus on the pain. We're going to go, what do I do to get the pain to go away? And that's normal. It's just not the only thing we need to do. Because if that's all we do, law of attraction says, well, if that's where you want to focus, I'll just give you more of that. And so that begs the question, doesn't it? So what do we do? Well, I've got some issues going on right now. I fell and just about broke these 2 fingers. 4 months ago, really hurt my right heel. It's been painful for months, really painful. Whatever, there's like 3 things going on with me. And what do? You actually have to stop thinking of it as a dragon to be slain. My teacher Amachi says, when you walk into a dark room, you don't push out the darkness, you turn on the light. Helen Keller says, if you turn your face towards the sun, you will not see the shadows. Oh, that's nice. What does it mean? How do we use it? With spirituality, it has to be applicable, or it's just a nice thought. So the application is in our emotion. We are emotional beings. And when our emotions are clean and aligned and we have no resistance to it, then all that we are just comes straight through. That's why being in love, for instance, is such a pipeline. You just walk around and people are suddenly nicer to you and people are smiling at you, and that thing that you wanted to have happen suddenly happens, and it seems like it's out of the blue. It's not out of the blue. It's out of your energy. It's out of your energy. So the old paradigm that we tend to work in is where we stand outside the candy store, outside that window, going, these are great ideas. You know, these things, I really believe in them, but I'm going to follow some rules to get to them. I'm just going to follow some rules so I can figure out how to get through that door and get to those things. And the fact is that we have to question our rules, because what we're trying to do, the thing that really works, is when we start to just resonate cleanly with what we are. When we can relax, when we can stop a little bit, just a little bit a day. It doesn't take much, honestly, it doesn't. When you can take 5 minutes a day to do what the wonderful teacher Mike Dooley suggests, which is visioning, where you sit and you imagine that you are in situations that make you amazingly happy. Now, you're not seeing yourself from behind. You're actually imagining you're in it. So you can't see yourself. You can see your feet, you can see your hands, but just, so let's say you want to have a closer walk with Jesus. You could actually sit and imagine that you're walking and talking with Jesus, but feel it. Don't let it be just a mental exercise. Let yourself feel the ground beneath your feet. Let yourself feel your hand being held by the hand of the divine. Let yourself look at Jesus and see the smile on his face. Like if that's your path, then that might be the kind of thing you want to do. If you want to go very worldly, like one of my favorite things to do is to imagine George Clooney coming in hand and helping me get up the stairs to get my Academy Award. And I know what I'm wearing and I know how it feels. And he and I are great friends and we're just laughing. And I'm going, do you believe this? And he's like, you earned it. And he's like, I've got a whole scenario. And every time I feel it, I'm going, woohoo. So I'm sitting here in my bedroom, literally going, woohoo, because you want to have higher emotional feelings. Now, if you are having something like extreme pain, how the heck do you lift that? You have to figure out what works for you as far as climbing what's called the emotional ladder. So either you want to get to see if you can turn that boat that is your emotional setting just a little bit, let's see if you can just turn it a little bit, to look at something else that truly brings you joy. Distract yourself a little. That's one thing you can try. This is such an individual journey. And I love that it's individual, because I don't think anybody should tell you how to live your spiritual life. So you have to find that either that distraction just for a little bit of time, because the positive energy is so dang strong. It is so strong that 5 minutes, 4 minutes of imagining, visioning, feeling, experiencing, all of that per night gets rid of, this is according to Mike Dooley, and I believe him because I've seen his life and I've seen what this stuff is doing for me. 4 or 5 minutes a night, it gets rid of 23 hours and 55 minutes of worry. That's how strong the higher energies are, the joy is. And I think we can know this because we haven't managed to destroy ourselves as a species yet, and God knows we've tried. And I think that our entire existence is positive energy. And so our job is not to do the things that the old paradigm tells us to do, like deal with your issues before you can get your reward. Be a better person. Be more forgiving, more compassionate, kinder. These are things that will come as we give ourselves the alignment with that goodness, because it's who we are. We keep running after what we already are. And we keep following rules that don't pay off. And so the new paradigm says, you know what? You can stand outside that candy store, and if you just close your eyes and you feel what it feels like to be abundant, guess what? Something's going to come out that door. Your abundance is going to come. It's going to happen. It has to. It's the law. That's the law of attraction. You have to try it for yourself. It's not something that anybody can convince you of. But I can tell you that it seems extremely certain. Several things. How you feel, how we feel, either makes us happy or miserable. What we're not aware of is that we have the personal agency to change that. And yet I can tell you that what happened this summer, I went into the worst tailspin of my entire life. Depression, anxiety, so bad, 24/7 panic attacks for 2 months. My body was in pain because I was miserable. I had gone off of the antidepressants in, I don't know, let's say December or January. And it was great. I was doing fine. I was doing well. But then the horrible, awful, miserable job that I was in started taking money away from my, they started paying you less and less. It's the whole weird thing. And I went into such a panic that I couldn't function. And one night, about 1 o'clock in the morning, I'd already been to the emergency room a couple of times, and it was clear to me. I'd called Greg, the shaman. I'd called him countless times for help. I'd called Brian countless times for help, and they'd kept me with my feet on the ground. But I wasn't better. I was just surviving. And that was not going to be good enough. I was watching Abraham Hicks videos. If you don't know Abraham Hicks, YouTube will do it for you. And Abraham is really the primary teacher for me of law of attraction. And I was listening to all of the different exercises that are available to help us lift ourselves into a different state of being. And I was like, well, I've tried all of these, and I'm just like, this is terrible. And then I said, screw it, I got to do something. So I picked up my journal, I picked up my pen. Natural for me, I'm a writer, I love writing, I love words. And I started feverishly, angrily writing. I feel like I'm going to die. I can't get out of it. But Abraham says, go general. So I'm going to go general and say that there is an energy behind all things. I started to write about what I knew. Now, this was not the stuff that we were taught like back in the 80s and 90s, which is like, let's just say, I have $1 million, I have $1 million, I have $1 million. You can't lie to yourself. You can't lie your way into law of attraction. What you do have to do is be humble. You have to be aware of your emotions. You have to be willing to try. You have to be willing to confront and question what you're aware of and what you're assuming. It is the journey, in my opinion. It is the journey of my life anyway. And I'm going to read you one so I can give you an example so you know what it's like. And if you decide to do it for yourself, you'll know what I'm talking about. It only takes 17 seconds, according to Abraham. It only takes 17 seconds of focusing on some positive train of thought for law of attraction to help you by bringing you another thought, another positive thought. If you keep going, these 17 seconds, by 68 seconds, that energy is now launched out into the world and is starting to attract. So I'm like, 68 seconds, maybe I can manage this. You know, maybe I can manage 3 seconds, like whatever. And I found that within a few minutes, I felt better. Now, I'm not saying I was like, oh, thank God I'm through that. No, I don't mean that. But if somebody had asked me before I started writing on a scale of 0 to 10, where 10 is take me to the hospital, how do you feel? I would have said, I'm 10, and I'm not going back to the hospital. And I start writing, and by the time 10, 20 minutes goes by, I'm at like a 5. That's extraordinary. It's extraordinary that I can make that change happen. It's extraordinary I have that power. Really? As I kept doing, I kept working on this. I kept every minute, whenever that was very often I was freaking out. So I was like always pulling up my journal and, you know, and when I would get stuck and say, oh God, I don't know where to go from here. And then I would hear something, because I had Abraham on as like a background for days. And I would hear a phrase that would strike my ear, like Abraham saying something like, you could write, wouldn't it be wonderful if I just felt a little bit better? Well, I have no argument with that. I have no resistance to, wouldn't that be wonderful? Yeah, that would be wonderful. So I start writing there. Anything that leads you to less resistance emotionally is straightening out your energy. So here is, just as an example for you, something that I wrote just this last week. I thought that I was going to have to leave my job at the end of this coming week. It's turning out that's not what's happening. And there are huge possibilities happening that are incredible. Yeah, this is a whole turnaround for me. But I want to go through just a few minutes of this to just give you an example. So here's what I wrote. And the first part is going to be, you know, like darker energy, because that's what I'm trying to work out of. And so I did. But here it goes. I said, look, I feel frightened, really frightened about my work ending in a couple of weeks. I keep thinking it's going to be a long while before I get work again. No, that's not it. I keep thinking I'll drop off the edge of the world like immediately, and I won't have any grounding, and I'll fall through and be too upset. Okay, so that's looking at what is the emotional setting that's not so much fun. So you do it, but you don't go deep into it like we've been taught to do. What is it that makes me feel this way? What had happened as a child? Because what that does is it increases the focus on the negative. So instead, I reached for what Abraham calls a better feeling thought. And this is what I came up with. I am likely to have an adjustment period for sure. But I know that as I climb the emotional ladder, it's going to clean up this energy. Why that's better is because it means I'm not seeing it as endless. I'm not seeing myself as doomed. Make sense? Okay, so it's better. And that's the part I mean about humble. Okay. I spoke to my friend last night. I could feel how she's stuck in the negative. I know that place, but it's not my place anymore. For me, negative is now a jumping off place. I can go there for a minute and explore the problem, and then it's time to move up the scale or focus elsewhere. So from helpless and pounding on a door that won't open, I'm turning my face towards the sun, and I won't see the shadows. Thank you, Helen Keller. And that sun is things like my abilities, which are vast. Am I being an ugly duckling that really isn't ugly at all, but is in the wrong place for my abilities? So I'm angry with them for not seeing me, but the fact is that I'm now vibrating too quickly for them so they can't see me. All right. The purpose of all of that is just to show that there's a difference between the beginning, which is I'm going to fall off the edge of the planet. There's going to be nothing for me. And it goes to, hey, I actually have abilities. I haven't always been able to say that, by the way, you guys. I've always had lots and lots of abilities and skills, but being able to honor them, to say like, hey, wait a minute, that's a shift. And it's shifts like that that change our lives. It's not, can I get the $1 million? Can I get the job first? It's the emotion first, because the emotion changes the energy, which is the attraction factor in our world. It is a 180-degree shift in the way that we would do things. It's completely different. What I do appreciate so much, I appreciate many things, but it doesn't say anything about your religion or your spirituality. You can keep to whatever it is that you already do. The only measurement is, does this make me feel clean and clear? A little more joyous, a little relief, a little happier, a little less resistant, or does it not? And if it does not, then whatever your path is, it is your choice and your opportunity to say, I think I will investigate this to see if this really works for me, or if it could work for me in a different way. Law of attraction is why you see people who have no moral fiber, who are hideous human beings, having all the goodies, and people who are trying really hard and being really good people don't get the goodies. It's the only thing that I've found that explains this. There are people who go, I've got no resistance to thinking I deserve everything good. And they may have no moral fiber at all, but they get everything good because it's all about energy. It's not about worth. You already are worth. You are the source. How could you not be worthy? So there's plenty to talk about when it comes to law of attraction. There's so many elements to it. There's so many elements to emotion. There's so many elements to perspective. For some people, it's a fascinating thing. For other people, they go, I'm really not interested. But I did want to give you all a sort of insight to it. And I will tell you real quickly before I stop talking what happened last week at work. I knew I was having my last 2 weeks, and I really love where I'm working. Love it, love it, love it. My old self, my pre-July self, would have gone instantly into panic, fear, and loathing. And I would have been calling my friends and going, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Because that would have been my emotional set point. It's like, oh my God. So what I've been learning and working on and learning and listening to videos and all of this I've been doing since July is I actually have the power to change what my relationship with my life and the quality of the things that are coming into my life. So I approached these 2 weeks going, wow, this is amazing. I don't feel panicked. I'm not thrilled, it's going to be sad if I have to leave, but I'm not overreacting for once. Instead, I'm going, let me focus on the qualities of the work that I want to be involved in. I want people who are involved. I want people who are who love me, who I love. I want to be so excited to go into work. I want people to recognize that I'm amazing and creative, and they appreciate it. And I appreciate their talents. And we're all about creating something together. We're not about all this ego stuff like, oh, I did this. So I started focusing on that. Last Wednesday, a friend of mine at work says, I need to find a company that will do XYZ for me. I said, I'll do XYZ for you. He said, oh, let me go see about that. Thursday, I go in to talk to an HR person. I've been wanting somebody there to look at me and go, holy crap, girl, you can do everything from video production to document design to training. Like, we can't let you go. And nobody's been noticing me. I walk in to talk to her and she goes, like, she looks at my resume and her mind gets blown. She's now my ally. She's trying to help me get a full-time position. Friday, I get told, you've been approved to stay at this 3-month position that your colleague was talking about. And is it okay if we give you $1 raise? Let me think about that. 2 hours later, somebody else from research and development comes over to me and says, can we interview you on Monday for a different position that'll last 6 months? None of that would have happened if I had had the old thing of, oh! And I had that because I didn't have the understanding that I have the personal agency. I didn't have the experience of being able to change things. And I had to practice that for months in order to get to that place of understanding, oh my God, I can change things. And by the way, my heel, which was hurting badly for 4 months, since this morning is healed. It's just healed. Because when you focus on anything and you let yourself be less involved in the garbage, the more that energy is just going to come through in all kinds of ways. So that's my introduction to what I've learned about law of attraction. And
all right, let's take a deep breath. Let's go ahead and release it. Let's get relaxed here. Mother, Father God, we thank you for this gathering tonight. We thank you for the thoughts and ideas. We thank you for the fellowship. We thank you for the gift of life. We thank you for each other. We ask that you help us during this week. Keep in touch with each other. Share the love that is within each of our hearts. We ask this in all that's good. Amen.